All right. Looks like we're on in just a moment. Afraaz Mulji will be joining me. I think he's coming up right now. Aha! I believe that's you. We are connecting to audio. Hey! There we go. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. How are you, James?
Good. So I didn't know what you were going to wear. I went for something fairly tame, but you tend to dress up when you perform, don't you?
I do, yeah. I do dress up.
I love it. So let me start off because we're meeting for the first time on the internet. I'm going to see you perform very soon. The pronunciation of your name, Afraaz?
Yeah, Afraaz.
Afraaz Mulji.
Mulji.
And you are from Tanzania or Tanzania?
Tanzania.
Tanzania. There we go.
You got it right the first time.
Right on. So tell me a little bit about your upbringing in Tanzania, your family and your love of music.
From a very young age, from around the age of like 1 or 2, I was always tapping on my mom's and dad's shoulder when they were feeding me. So they were like, "You must be musical." So they got me my first instrument, which was a pair of the tabla, the Indian drums, when I was 3 years old. And in fact, that's when I started my music lessons. My first Guruji, he started teaching me when I was 3 years old. And wow. I started with harmonium and tabla.
Now, your parents must have loved music and been very good parents to kind of be that keen and go, wait a minute, he's not just tapping, he's tapping rhythmically.
Right. Well, the funny thing is my parents are actually not musicians themselves. Like they have no musical background or no musical talent per se. Yeah. So I have no idea how they figured it out. I think it's probably because I was always just, banging on the pots and pans, like all my mom's pots and pans, if you look at them, they all have dents in them. That's all my doing.
That's amazing. During COVID, we've been hitting pots and pans. We did it every night, and now we're doing it once a week. So I have a beautiful pan that is starting to sound almost like a steel pan. It's been kind of tempered a little bit. Nice. I'll have to bring it down to the concert, let you take a look at it, see what you think.
Yes, please. That would be really cool.
Okay, so Tanzania, you're 3 years old taking some drum lessons.
Yeah.
When did you start to move into other instruments?
So I got my first keyboard when I was 4. A family friend got me like one of those Casio keyboards,
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so that was my first keyboard, and for the first sort of 5 days that I had the keyboard, I probably spent like 4 or 5 hours on it, and like I would refuse to eat and drink and sleep. Like my parents had to actually unplug it, take it out of the room and say, look, you know what? You have to go to sleep now. Like we're not letting you play this anymore. Like you're done for today.
Yeah.
So, and the neighbors complained. They were like, he's giving us a headache. He's playing the same note over and over again. Because I was listening to the way the note kept changing. Because the Casio keyboard, the oscillator, it would make the note warble. So it would constantly go in and out of tune, because it's one of those cheap keyboards. And I was fascinated by this. And I would just play one note endlessly for 1 hour. And I would just listen to that note. And then I switch to another note. And everyone was like, what the hell is he doing? Like, this is not even music.
Now, where did you end up moving? When did you leave Tanzania?
So I left to go study at a boarding school in India when I was 13. So that's the first time that I left Tanzania and I was on my own, right? Mm-hmm. And then when I was in India, there was an exchange program to go to France, and so I went there for about a month and a half. And then after I was done in India, when I was 15, I moved to Canada. I moved to Nova Scotia to go to a boarding school there.
Wow, boarding school in Nova Scotia, India, Paris. Hey, let's go to Nova Scotia. How did you like it in Nova Scotia?
It was great. I mean, it's so beautiful, and the people are really great.
Slow though, right? Like really quiet and peaceful and nice people. But compared to the wildness of Paris or the wildness of India, and then you're in a place that's very quiet.
Yes, it was definitely a big change, a big transition, But I think I was in a position while I was there because I had no I like, you know, when you're in Paris or when you're in India, you're constantly being bombarded with sounds. You know, the sound of the rickshaw horn, you know, the sound of all the people, you know, haggling their wares, all this
Yeah.
kind of stuff. And you know, in Nova Scotia, it's like you just hear the birds occasionally, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and the wind, and it's like it's a completely different soundscape. It's a whole nother sonic world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And how long did you stay in Nova Scotia?
I stayed for 3 years.
Wow, amazing. And then to Toronto after Nova Scotia?
No, then I went to Montreal.
Yeah.
And I was in Montreal for about a year. Um, and I actually, in Montreal, I used to spend a copious amount of time at this little cafe called Cafe Pie. It was a board game cafe. So all the chess masters, the old, you know, chess masters would gather there and play. And so I had my ass handed to me a few times, and then you know, I slowly got better and better. And yeah, it was incredible. And you know, everybody would listen to the weirdest music, right? Like you'd have a mix of Balkan music, you know, Syrian music, Afghani music. It was like, you name it, there was a musical tradition. It was being represented there. So for me, in a way, that was really interesting, because I've always loved pluralism, and you know, and having a variety of people in a space, because it creates like a tapestry. You know, you get all these different threads, and somehow they all weave together to create a picture.
Well, here's what's interesting. I'm going to ask you a couple of things here. I don't know if these are friends of yours that you have met, or these are just people that are on Facebook, but I've noticed a few jazz people in your list here. Have you ever met Bill King?
I've never met him in person, no, but I know of his work. In fact, I was just reading the interview that he did with you on I forget the name of the is it something he did an interview with you, though. I read the whole thing, and
You mean from
no,
you mean from this book, or do you mean an interview online?
interview online.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't know, because
interview.
I haven't finished this one yet. I'm halfway through. So yeah, so that's a good guy for you to know, though.
Yeah,
Also, Ori Dagan. He's
never
a good
again,
guy for
never
you to
never
know.
met in person.
Yeah.
Never met in person.
Bill McBurney, the flute player.
Again, never met in
Oh
person.
boy. Okay. I hope these guys will come and see you at Jazz Bistro, because they're going to be blown away with your chops. And these guys are no slouches. So you've got some good friends on Facebook already. I'm curious how they found you, or how you found them.
You know, it's very weird, but I've always found that the music community is very tight knit. So like,
Yeah.
if you know one person, then that person's network, with that person's connections, they start to it like, you know, you start to get to know them.
Yeah.
Like, you know, for example, you know, I know this girl called Sarah Tower, and she introduced me
Great
to her
drummer.
professor.
Yeah. She's terrific.
She's a great drummer, incredible. We've had some jam sessions together, and we've done some really interesting, like, far out stuff. You know, actually, I don't know if you know Jerry Granelli from Nova.
Sure. Of course I do. Yeah. Good. One of
So,
the great drummers of Canada.
right,
Yeah.
incredible drummer,
He's in
and
Halifax, right?
exactly. And I went to the creative music workshop. And so, you know, I saw the way he approached the drums, and I was like, oh my God, my mind was blown. I was like,
Right.
this is genius. This is incredible. And so, you know, I started doing all kinds of weird things to my cymbals. I started creating sculptures out of my drums instead of playing them in conventional ways, all kinds of stuff. And all thanks to him, you know, just seeing the way that he did things, and then playing my guitar with mallets. I'm going to do that for you today. I have my guitar right here.
Oh, beautiful. Listen, I wanted to let people know this is very unusual. The way we reached each other, you reached out to me about a concert. You sent me a link to the Aga Khan of a very interesting piano piece.
Yeah.
And you followed it up with some poetry. So I didn't know anything about you. I didn't know you were so young. You're about what, 21?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So I didn't know you were so young. All I knew is here's a very interesting player. He's really a good musician, but also you threw poetry in there, and you're sending me stuff that is from another planet. It's not really, it's world music, and it's jazz music, and perhaps it's folk music, but it's something else. So it's interesting that I'm glad you reached out, because I don't think genres matter anymore.
Thank you.
If music is good and people enjoy it, who cares where you label it?
Yeah. Well, you know, this is kind of ironic. You know, I've actually been told by some musicians, by some jazz musicians, that my music isn't jazz, and that that I shouldn't call it jazz. And
I would agree. You could say there's an influence of jazz or there's an influence of world, but I would agree it's something else. It's
yeah,
something special.
thank you. Yeah, and this is the thing, right? Like I draw from many different genres, you know, and so like, you know, just today I was listening to Art Tatum, and I was like, oh my God, I love his two finger runs, you know, and I've been working on trying to, you know, trying to do my own version of that, and you know, and I'm listening to people like Thelonious Monk, and you know, then I also like some people like that are, again, they're doing things that are maybe not necessarily jazz, but like sort of in between, like you could call it third stream, like Jacques Loisier, who plays the swinging Bach,
Yeah.
you know, stuff
Well,
like that.
I would call that jazz, but some people would say no, that's classical, just a little bit bent. So
Right.
it doesn't really matter, right?
Yeah. And you know what? You'll love this. I actually present a series around Canada called Purists Beware.
Yeah. You know, purist of anything just seems why not mix things up, shake it up. How much spiritualism is in your daily life? Because between your music and poetry, you seem pretty grounded for a kid. For someone who's in his 20s, you seem pretty grounded. What do you reach out to, or what do you do?
So, you know, I do a meditation every day. You know, and my meditation is kind of influenced by Sufi, you know, Sufi mysticism,
Hmm.
and so I'm actually, well, I'm agnostic, but I'm an Ismaili, right? Like I don't know
Yeah,
if you ever heard of the Ismailis.
yeah.
So you know, in our spiritual practice, we're encouraged to wake up between 4 and 5 in the morning and do an hour of meditation. And and so you have a word that you repeat, and it's called zikr. So it's like a chant. You repeat it over and over again, and eventually the idea is that it disappears. Eventually you're not saying anything, you're just in a state of mind. And so when I'm in that state of mind, then I mean, that's actually when the poetry comes to me. But I don't write it down immediately. I let it ruminate. There's a process there. So, you know, because when you're in that state, everything seems profound. So I
Right.
come back to a more, you know, to a more grounded place, and then I ask myself, okay, does this poetry hold up to the standard, the literary standard that I want to hold it to?
Right. Beautiful. Well, there you go. I knew there was something else going on. This isn't waking up, watching vintage cartoons on Netflix, and then running out the door. That wasn't your life. Okay, you got a show coming up at Jazz Bistro. I'm really excited to see you perform. You mentioned you had something. You were going to do some mallets or something.
Yeah, mallets on a guitar, actually.
Cool.
Hold on, I'm just gonna plug in a pedal here. Okay, these are my trusty mallets. Always gotta have these.
Oh, wow. Big ones.
Yep. And just grab my guitar. I don't think we can see the guitar. I'm
Right.
just
If
gonna.
you just tilt your computer down just a bit. There we go. All right. Hey, you know what's happening? Your condenser mic is shutting down. I think you have to turn down your amp, and then the mic won't shut it down.
Okay.
I think we're having a volume issues that your computer the mic on your computer is kind of.
I see. Okay. Yeah, I can turn this down.
Hey, is your computer, is that a microphone or a light switch? Or sorry, on top of your keyboard.
Oh, this is a mic. It's a condenser
Yeah,
mic.
so you can do a bit of vocoder action or something.
Yes, that's right.
Oh, hilarious. Well, we got to make some music together, my friend.
Yeah,
Got
absolutely.
all the toys.
Okay, I'm gonna try again. See if the
Sure.
mic is. Stuff like that. You know?
That sounds like fun. Now, I know you as a piano player first, but I see, I mean, you've got your keyboard set up, you play drums, do you kind of just pick up something and play with it?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I would say that's really the way that I've always approached music. Is I've just kind of I've taken whatever instrument or whatever idea and just kind of run with it. And I think I take more of a conceptual approach to playing music than I do a literal approach. You
Yeah.
know, so for me, like, you know, some people, they learn technique and they learn technique for the sake of learning technique. But for me, it's always been backwards. It's like, I want to say this, and then I learn the technique so that I can express whatever it is that I have in my head.
Right
So
on.
I'm
Yeah.
working backwards.
Right. Well, it's maybe not backwards, but it's a new way. That's a little bit different. What are you doing right now these days? I know you've got a big show coming up at Jazz Bistro, but what other projects are you looking towards doing in 2020?
So just recently, I did a collaboration with this girl called Kristen Pong, and
Yeah.
I met her through a project that I was working on with a friend of mine called Hussein Jan Muhammad at the Aga Khan Museum. And so we were doing these sessions of improvised and spontaneous music based on these prompts. And she was recording everything. She was like doing like a podcast based on that. And so, you know, I reached out to her. I said, I'd love to collaborate. And so she sent me this track with dogs barking, with piano, with rain, and with thunder. And I listened to this track and I was like, this is so cool. Now, what could I do with it? And then I put it into my DAW, in my audio workstation, and I put it in reverse. And then I was like, holy crap, that's a cool sound. So I sent it to her and I was like, what do you think about this? She's like, it's great. I love it. So anyway, I just released that yesterday on Bandcamp. So it's called
good.
Dogs. It's called Dogs in the Night.
Oh, right. I have a feeling when people see this interview and when people get to know you, you're going to have a lot of people wanting to collaborate in unusual ways because you're in the right city when it comes to a giant melting pot of ideas.
Yes. Well, that's why I moved to Toronto, is because I wanted to be in a scene where there was stuff happening every single day of the week, you know, like,
yeah.
like, you know, obviously with COVID, it's a bit different, but still, like, you know, like I just recently saw a performance by Andrew Kay, who does like saxophone and Himalayan singing bowls and the Bansuri flute. And I saw that in the courtyard of the Aga Khan Museum when I went there with a couple of my friends. And I was like, yes, this is the kind of music that the museum should be promoting, you know? And I think music that stretches the you know, the ontology of what it is to be music, I think that's the kind of music I'm interested in, you know?
Well, you have the music gallery here, right? There's a whole bunch of organizations of interesting people that are doing that, Array Music as well. So like you say, some of them are half shut or shut down for a little bit.
Yeah.
But you're not going anywhere. You're sticking around Toronto, right?
Yes. Yes.
You're gonna make this your home for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. Listen, I'm gonna see you at the Jazz Bistro. I look forward to seeing you in concert.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for your time, and we'll be talking soon.
Okay.
All
Bye.
right. Yeah. Cheers.